Welcome, everyone. Oh my God. Look at the new offices here at NotInHallOfFame.com here in Seattle. Thank you so much to the Seattle Tourism Board that worked so hard to secure Evan and I to get here. They haven't paid for Evan's ticket yet and Evan's move.
No, no, but I mean, like I said, I got my marshmallow corner. I'm good.
Right, right. Or
And
it's
these
just,
and this tourism, this orange is specifically the color of the Namibian sand dunes.
well, there you go.
So
There you
what
go.
happens when you have a travel person for a wife. So
I didn't know that's what you did.
she worked in the travel industry as long as I've known her. So
There you go. That's why you met at the Model UN.
we did not, but close enough.
Oh.
Model UN helped me get her. I met her in a bar. I met her in a bar crawl for charity because there's no better way to prevent birth injuries than drinking with strangers all day.
I think you probably told me that, but all right, I just ran with the wrong story, as opposed to the correct story that I'm in the 40th floor of the Not in Hall of Fame Tower. We could go with that.
Sure. Are you on the top floor of the tower?
I am in the top floor of the tower.
And it's a New Mountain Hall of Fame tower.
There you go. Absolutely.
Well, until you leave, and then someone else takes over.
Yeah, until this has got signed out. So much for my co-CEO rights, huh? Anyway,
Yeah.
I'm Kirk Buckner along with Evan Nolan. We run NotInHallOfFame.com and the Fictitious Athlete Hall of Fame, which is a bit on hiatus. We just sort of let that run a little bit. And the Fictitious Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, only because Evan and I have been so busy with this project, the United States Athletics Hall of Fame, which is far more important. And we've got, right before, we actually had a pre-meeting before our show. Go figure that one out. 12 votes have come in with some pretty decent names coming in. We've even got a former mascot. This is great.
Yeah, mascot who was in the suit when they was inducted in the Baseball Hall of Fame. So the man who was in the Baltimore Orioles suit when the Baltimore Orioles inducted into Cooperstown. So
there you go.
Well.
Yeah,
so I just got his back today.
Yeah, we've got some pretty solid names. So 12 votes are in. We think we got another 8 coming.
I think we have another 10 to 12 coming. Just
possibly another 10 to 12. Okay, and then
I guess we end up with 25. So.
Okay. Yeah, and we were talking, there's been some interesting votes. My vote, even though I sort of like gave that publicly, didn't sway much.
Yeah, you're still the only person to vote for the 3 boxers you voted for, which is kind of crazy.
Well, 2 of them I'm not that surprised by. Roy Jones Jr., I'm very shocked. Looks like he may not be on this ballot, though there's still time. Not that I'm trying to sway anyone. You vote for who you think. There's not a wrong person to vote for. There really isn't.
And, well, except for that one person, and you know who it is. I'm kidding.
Oh, that's yes, that is true.
So through 12 votes, of everyone voting 25 times, we have 21 people who have not received a vote, meaning we've had 104 who have, which is not bad. And no one's gotten more than 8 votes so far. We have 1 with 8, 2 with 7. No, 1 with 8, 1 with 7, 4 with 6, and now 9 with 5. So
when we started this, I mean, we knew that a couple would be unanimous. Obviously, Muhammad Ali, from our voting body and whatnot. But I mean, like, this is all through the board. And first off, thanks to a couple of people. Thanks to Chris Meridian, who joined us last week. And it was really a great thing. Chris does the elevator show with me, even though I do elevators here with Evan, but we sort of combine everything on a monthly basis. And I think it really showed, especially through Chris, just like the amount of work that he put into it, of just trying to figure out who a lot of these people are. A lot of these names that Evan sort of came up with are giant names in their respective sport, but have been gone for a long, long time. And in many cases, some of them are the best American ever to do it.
Yeah, and Carl Osborne is one. Helen Wills is one.
Yep. Carl Osborne in shooting. Yep. Daryl Pace in archery.
Bruce Baumgartner is on this list, who may be the greatest wrestler. I mean, the other people, Dan Gable is already on the others list, but Baumgartner is a very good one. But yeah, and we have, I mean, he hasn't gotten a vote yet, but there is even a bull rider on our list. So I tried to get as many sports as I could, and I was looking up. I spent like a day and a half looking up information on bull riders before I picked Lane Frost
No, I
as the
believe it.
person.
I totally believe it. Yeah.
And like I said, and then fortunately, we've had some people who've put in suggestions for folks.
Mhm.
And I have some lacrosse folks who I was short on, and I have another archer who somebody recommended, and a few others. So it's been very helpful
Yeah.
when we're getting this next time. Because here's the thing: we did 140 people last year on the ballot. We have 125 new possible. That's what, 265, or just beginning to scratch the surface of the
Right.
The oldest person I think we have born on this list this year is Eddie Collins, who was born in 1869,
Is
I
he?
believe, maybe.
Yeah. Okay. So he would be the oldest one if he advances.
If he advances, but he's the oldest person. But I'm just saying, so we're
Yeah.
looking for people who were born between let's say 1860 and 1973.
Right.
There are a lot more than 265 of those people.
Yeah.
So they're going to be people we're going to forget. They're going to be people like I've had multiple people tell me, where's Cal Ripken? The answer is we have so many baseball players. Cal Ripken isn't quite good enough yet. He'll probably be there next year.
Mhm.
But it's amazing. That's
Almost
where
the
we are.
write-in for me. As I said
Yeah.
last week, almost a write-in for me. I'm gonna guess that the mascot had something to say about that.
Yeah, he had Ripken on his list.
Yeah, which is fine. I mean, we had a space for a write-in, and I almost did it. I almost did.
Well, the write-ins are for next year. We're not gonna add any people this year. It's too hard.
Yeah.
But we can, like I said, there's a list. We're doing the best we can. It is a very well-oiled two-man operation. At least it's
Well, it's transparent one, man. I mean, like when we screw up, we're gonna tell you how we screwed up, and we're gonna own it. And
and there is one screw up we'll get to when we get to the final votes. It's not a major thing, but just there's actually somebody on the ballot who shouldn't be on the ballot because they're already on the other ballot. So that's okay.
Well, so we're going to start off with the Hall of Fame related news, and the Pittsburgh Pirates. They were late to the dance, much like the St. Louis Cardinals were for a franchise that's over 100 years old, but they're making up for lost time. So they've announced their third class for their hall, and I swear they had to do this on purpose. Barry Bonds and Jim Leyland going in together.
I know, it is kind of hilarious.
Yeah, and I'm sure they're perfectly fine with each other now. I tweeted that, and then our friend Ron Katz, former Broncos fan of the year, who's also one of the voters, he did the LOL, and then we were sharing the clip of Leyland chewing out Bonds in spring training, which is still crazy to look at, considering that Jim Leyland is probably your age at that point in time.
I know, it's amazing. He got elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame. They had all those managers, and somehow Leyland was the youngest one there. And Leyland has seemed like the oldest manager in the history of baseball as long as I've been alive.
Yeah, he could have easily played the Wilford Brimley role in The Natural.
Very much so. If Wilford Brimley was a chain smoker. So.
Right. So those two go in together. Before we get to the third person, I think these are two excellent ones. Bonds may have even had a case for the first class, 2 MVPs as a Pirate, 2 of his 7, but a known malcontent. We know this. He seems very happy that he got in. This is probably the only Hall of Fame he's going to get into. He's a nominee again for the second year for our Hall of Fame, the United States Athletics Hall of Fame. Did okay, but his likability factor, or as you say, the Q rating for Barry has not gone up one iota. Fair?
Yeah. Fair.
Yeah. Leyland getting into the Baseball Hall of Fame, I think almost made it automatic, and he really should. He brought up for that Pirates team to get into 3 NLCSs in a row, which was Barry, Andy Van Slyke was your second best player. Bonilla, maybe Doug Drabek at one point, but not much else.
Jose Lind.
Jose Lind, yeah, there's another one.
I think who else was on that team?
Green. Yeah.
Yes, Green.
Mike LaValliere, or was he still on that?
Mike LaValliere, that was the other one I was trying to think of.
Yeah.
And of course, Bream went to the went to the Twins and scored the winning run when Bonds was trying to throw him out at home plate, which was
Mhm.
kind of hilarious. So,
But Bonds at that point in time too was also an excellent fielder, which people forget because you remember the roided Bonds who literally doubled in size.
mm-hmm.
You know, I think the correct use of the word literal, but Bonds was, hold on, him and Clemente would have to be the only multi-time MVPs as a Pirate. I didn't check this out before, but that sounds right, doesn't it? Or did Stargell have two? I know Stargell was MVP in '79, even though he shouldn't have been.
Right. I don't know is the answer.
Yeah, but it's a select group. The third person who got in, Manny Sangiam, I know I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, and I
No,
apologize.
Sanguine is correct.
Okay. Infielder, catcher, was on both of their World Series teams in the 70s. So on the 71 and 79 squad, the We Are Family squad. Over 1,500 hits, multi-time All-Star. Pretty damn versatile defensive player, still alive.
Yeah. And the perfect type of player to be going into a team Hall of Fame.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's fantastic.
He's the Trot Nixon. When the Red Sox inducted Trot Nixon, I'm like, that's exactly the right player to go into the Red Sox Hall of Fame. No business being professional baseball Hall of Fame.
Yeah, for me, he's their Tony Fernandez.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, like, and Tony's been pretty much acknowledged a lot. So yeah, you know, three very good players. I didn't know that Manny was still alive, so it's really actually nice to see that he is. He's even got his own little Twitter account too, so he's excited. So congratulations to the newest members of the Pirates Hall of Fame, and congrats to the Pirates themselves. This is the stuff that teams should do. Even if you're late, still do it.
Correct. Yeah. And our feeling on this has always been if something's around for 25 years, you create a Hall of Fame for it. The Pirates are around 4 times that. So it's good they finally got around to it a couple years ago.
Well, same with the Cardinals, who were more successful.
True. Well, the Pirates had a lot of success over the years as well. So
Right, but I mean, just, you know, in comparison, and I think they did a class move by incorporating some of the Negro League players. And actually, I want to segue into that because this is I'm going to jump into an elevator just really quick. I'm going to go back to the elevator up, elevator down later. But as you saw, as I'm sure most people saw who are watching this, the MLB has acknowledged officially now all of the Negro, well, not all of the Negro Leagues, but a lot of the Negro League stats that have been accumulated to the best of their ability. It's really hard to necessarily get all the data that they could. I'm sure that a big part of that was also inspired by what Baseball Reference did. So there was a lot of people who put in a lot of hard work to make that happen, which means now officially the best slugging season of all time is now Josh Gibson. That's an elevator up for the United States Athletics Hall of Fame because he did not make it the first one. And I can't see how that does not help him. He's also now officially the best batter of all time, now passing Ty Cobb for lifetime batting average.
Yep. Jason Whitlock was very upset.
Was he?
Yeah, very much so.
No, seriously, like sarcastically, or
no? Jason Whitlock was.
Why the hell?
They never faced major league batters, so their stuff shouldn't count.
Yeah, and Babe Ruth never faced a Negro League pitcher.
Well, he did. Never faced Oscar Charlton either.
Yeah, well, he not when it counted. I know they did do the exhibitions.
I know, but my point though is like, the reason they weren't in the majors wasn't because their league was lesser. The reason they weren't in the majors was because Kennesaw Mountain Landis and his ilk are assholes, or were assholes. They remain assholes, I'm presuming in the afterlife. If there is one, they remain assholes. And Josh Gibson may not have batted as high if he was in the major leagues, but we'll never know. I do know this. Satchel Paige joined the major leagues at 50, basically, and dominated for years. So if 50-year-old Satchel Paige could dominate the majors, how much worse could the Negro Leagues have been than the major leagues at that time? And my answer to that is probably not much, if at all. They're probably better.
I can't even imagine. There's no current equivalent to that at all, in like in any sport that I can really even think of. Where
Well, I mean, did the NHL absorb the WHL stats?
no, they acknowledge it, but they didn't absorb it. So there's asterisks. So even for like, because both Gretzky and Howe, right? They both played in the WHA.
Right. So, and the NBA with the ABA?
I believe they did. I could be mistaken on that, but we're all.
I know the NFL has with the AFL.
They have with the AFL
and the AAFC.
Yes. But
So,
you know, here we're talking about some, and this has also sort of inspired me because Evan and I are also part of the Pro Football Revisited Hall project. I'm going to be doing the same for baseball now for sure. And I think it's going to be a lot easier for people to be a part of that because they'll have access to a lot more stats than they didn't have before. Because when we do this, starting the Baseball Hall of Fame, let's say, I haven't decided whether it's 1901 or 1906. Doesn't matter. But apologies, you probably know this. What year did the Baseball Hall of Fame sort of like rectify inducting Negro League players?
You mean the big Buck O'Neill led thing?
Yeah, I want to say 72, but I might be wrong on that.
Hold on a second. Well, there was a big one with Buck O'Neill later that they didn't put Buck O'Neill in. That was
probably because of his own humility.
Yeah, so that was in 2006 when they did Ray Brown, Willard Brown, Andy Cooper,
man, I'm way off.
Effa Manley, all those folks.
Okay.
Let me look back here.
When did Josh Gibson get in?
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
Okay.
Gibson, Buck Leonard, they all got in 72. That's correct.
Okay. So
Gibson was 72. Monty Irvin. Well, he also played for the Giants.
Yeah, because he did play the majors. Yeah. So
Cool Papa Bell. Satchel Paige was 71. Gibson was 72. Monty Irvin 73. Cool Papa Bell and Sam Thompson 74. And then Oscar Charleston, by the way, who should also be another elevator up. He almost made my list, or made the list for people this year. But I left him off because we already had 2 Negro League players with Page and Gibson who hadn't gotten in, so I didn't know if we could add a third. Charleston, with this all counting, probably moves up just because I think it's a better chance. Probably Turkey Stearns too moves from years out to now.
John Donaldson won that Vinny Laspinuso, our friend who does another show here where he makes Hall of Fame cases, who has been on a senior ballot. Now, there's historians who were part of the committee. I mean, it changes all the time, but there is going to be some people who might be voters, maybe former players who might not be that familiar with them, which is weird to say. A former player not familiar with another former player. Well, if it's 2 generations before, it's not that wrong to suggest. So if you've got more access to that, it's only going to help, especially if they look at that as something parallel. So when we do our baseball revisited thing, so I want to say Gibson died in the mid-40s, I think. Either way, he'd be eligible.
He died in 46. He died 3 months before Jackie Robinson. He died 3 months before Jackie Robinson signed with the Dodgers.
Got it. Okay. So then he would be theoretically eligible for the revisited project in 51. No, 50. 51. Yeah. So
I'll look up exactly what he died.
Right. But I mean, like those are something that's pretty big. I also want to acknowledge something else that I've been sort of like looking at, because
he died January of 47, and then Jackie was April of 47.
Okay. All right. And he was playing to the end, I believe.
Yeah, he died at age of 35.
Okay.
So
one thing, just sort of a side note, and I didn't see if anyone was tweeting this, but I imagine there's some people who thought, oh, this is pretty cool that Josh Gibson is now the best batter of all time and not Ty Cobb, because who was a lot of people, myself included, believed to be a racist. And I've been just I fell into this whole research rabbit hole, or rather reading other people's research bluntly. So I'll probably have to sort of like refix the bio for Cobb. And I remember this when Chris Huffins, one of the voters for that, he voted for Cobb. It says, like, I'm voting for him. If he was racist, I want to remove that vote. And as it turns out, almost everything that was sort of written about him wasn't true. So the story goes that Al Stump, not on Cobb's deathbed, but near the end of it, was the writer. And you can pretty much see that in the Cobb movie with Tommy Lee Jones, where they sort of like go by that interpretation. And another writer sort of like dug up a whole bunch of other stuff. And apparently, like, even Ken Burns got it wrong because he didn't do the research on that. He just went by what Stump said. And he added a whole bunch of other stuff. Yes, Cobb, from what I've read, or from what other people have researched, I can't say from what I've read of other people's research. I'm not going to say from my research, because that would be a little bit sanctimonious on my part. Cobb was certainly a guy who did fight a lot. He did beat up a couple black people. He beat up a lot more white people. He didn't handle criticism particularly well, but apparently a decent guy who in 1951 said that the only player he would pay to see is Willie Mays, and the player who he thought resembled him the most was Roy Campanella.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, and apparently when Stump wrote that was months after he passed away. And later on, which was sort of proven, I believe in court, or by an expert or whatnot, that Stump was sort of like forging a bunch of signatures of Cobb and just like buying old shit at auctions. So it's something that I didn't know. I had no idea. I have to like look at what I wrote about Cobb, and I might have to revise the entire thing. Yeah, you can be cantankerous on the field, but yeah, and just, when I get shit wrong, even if it's somebody who's been dead for God knows how long, I'm going to acknowledge that here, because that's what I do.
No, there you go. I mean, well, again, we fully admit when we are incorrect. So,
yeah, actually, another thing too. We talked about how Jemele Hill, I don't know if she missed it completely at the time, but she was on the Breakfast Club a few months ago and did talk about or ours, but more yours. You did a phenomenal job on that when the concussion lawsuit came.
Yeah.
So she did sort of like say that. I don't know if she did much at the time, but I ripped her for missing it completely, which she might have at the time. I don't know. I'm not going to go back and do that research.
Neither of us certainly saw it.
No, but if she did it later on the biggest platform for Black voices, fine. So, sorry, Jason. I don't know. I mean, like, it's
yeah, whatever. That man would gladly shine the shoes of those who would walk over his bloated corpse.
All right, no comment on that. But
I had a whole thing lined up to talk about Stephen A. Smith, but I've decided not to this week.
Oh, okay. But yeah,
I don't need to become famous for that reason.
Well, I'm going on a political rant later. Do you want that now or later?
No, well, let's come back. So anyway, Josh Gibson, by the way, died at the age of 35 of a stroke. He had a brain tumor that was diagnosed at 31. So,
oh shit,
he died.
So he was probably hitting balls with double vision for a while.
He might have been.
Yeah.
He was also institutionalized for a while with like basically crippling headaches that they had to figure out. So. Anyway, all right. So that's our main news. Do we have anything else for news?
No, not for the main news. I think we can go right into. We lost a few big names here, so I think we should sort of like jump into that.
Yeah.
I mean, for a week, it was one hell of a week. Not in a good way.
Yeah, we'll start with saying that the Beige Mistress was quiet this week. So
yeah,
that mercy upon us.
We got to give her like a name and a backstory.
Yeah, her name is Carmen Sandiego. We'd probably get sued for that.
Carmen
Anyway,
that sounds like somebody from the hills of Hungary.
Yeah. Her name is Magyar Posta, which it just means Hungarian post office, which says they're postage stamps. Anyway,
How do you know that?
I may have a large collection of stamps.
Okay.
Mostly that I inherited from my grandfather. But anyway, so one of the big names from I guess pop culture loss this week, Kabusu the dog, the Doge dog, passed away at the age of 18. So Dogecoin.
Oh, okay.
Shiba Inu from Dogecoin actually passed away at the age of 18. So pour one out for him. A couple other people outside of what we do passed away. Morgan Spurlock, who did Super Size Me.
Size Me. Yeah.
Had cancer at the age of 53. Super Size Me was a big deal at the time. It then came out that he a lot of his results may have been the fact that he was a raging alcoholic at the time, and not just the fact that he was drinking ridiculously heavily at the same time as that was going on.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and he admitted as much. He also had a whole thing back in 2017. He admitted to a history of sexual misconduct as part of the Me Too movement. There's a whole bunch of stuff.
I missed all of that. Well, shit.
Yeah. So, but he also had other things along the way that he did 30 Days, which was a TV series they did where people spent 30 days immersing themselves in a mode differently what they had normally done. They had one, a homophobe staying with a homosexual person, like a Christian living with a Muslim family, stuff along those lines. That was an interesting one for that. Yeah. I Bet You Will, which is MTV.
He did that?
Money. That was him. Yep.
Okay.
He also did Where in the World is Osama bin Laden? Which
I don't remember that.
2008. But now he was very inspired by Michael Moore, and was into seeing documentaries making a social change, and
being, I guess, I was going to say, but while kind of being a bit of a POS from what you've just told me, I didn't know that all that. I'm not trying to imply that Michael Moore is any of that. I have no idea.
I think he is. I think he was just a very troubled person, and with a serious
alcohol will do that.
Alcohol. Yeah. So, but he passed away of cancer at the age of 53. I just accidentally closed something I did not mean to close. There we go. Also passing away, two-time Oscar-winning film producer Albert Ruddy, who produced both The Godfather and $1 Million Baby, and also created Hogan's Heroes.
I told you I wasn't allowed to watch that, right?
No, you did not.
Oh, yeah, because I got my Germany jacket on here. Anyhow, I actually once used this to convince somebody that I was on the German archer team. But anyway, yeah, I've had this one for a while. No, actually, it affected my brother more than me. But my father being from Heidelberg, hold on, love you, Dad. He wouldn't let us watch it because he said no German was this stupid.
I understand. I think you did tell me that at one point.
Yeah, I thought I might have said of that.
Yeah, he
did so much. Did he do Exorcist, or am I thinking of somebody else?
You think it's someone else? He wrote The Longest Yard. He wrote and produced The Longest Yard. He also produced Cannonball Run and Cannonball Run 2. He wrote Cannonball Run 2.
One out of two ain't bad.
Yeah, The Scout. He did the redo of The Longest Yard. Ladybugs, remember that one?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so he was also did How the West Was Won, Walker, Texas Ranger.
A lot of hits and misses in this one, huh?
Yeah. Well, hey, you're 94 years old. He was active from 65 through 2021. It's a pretty good run.
Yeah.
So he passed away at the age of 94. From baseball, Tony Scott played with the Expos, Cardinals, and Astros from 73 to 84. Passed away at the age of 72. Were you a Expos fan and had any ideas on?
I
Tony Scott?
remember the name a little bit, but I mean, like when I was a kid, right? I mean, so growing up in Ontario, I mean, you get a lot of Expos games in the late 70s and a bit of the early 80s, but like everyth't just flipped a switch in 84 or 80, or sorry, rather 85 when the Jays went to the first playoff. And that was it. Like like pretty much the rest of Canada was Jays country after that.
So yeah, he passed away, as I said, at the age of 72. Was once traded straight up by the Cardinals to the Astros for Joaquin Andujar.
I remember that name. Walking underwear, yes.
There you go. But yeah, he career 249 hitter in 991 games, gone at the age of 72. Probably the second greatest American archer, Butch Johnson, passed away at the age of 68. He won an Olympic gold at Atlanta and bronze at Sydney, also gold Pan American Games in Winnipeg and Rio. But yeah, he passed originally from Worcester, Massachusetts. Welcome to Worcester, $1.25, please. In the words of Adam Sandler. But he was 68 years old. From racing, we lost Bob McCready at the age of 73, known as he won the Mr. Dirt Championship in 94 and 95 on the Lowe's Motor Speedway Walk of Fame, Northeast Dirt Modified Hall of Fame, and Eastern Motorsport Press Association Hall of Fame. So a dirt racer, pretty well renowned. Broke his back 5 separate times in racing accidents during his career. So he had to retire back in 2006. Was riding a Harley Davidson motorcycle. Was struck by a car in a parking lot, of all the things. He got $1.5 million of damages of that. So his kids Tim and Jordan McCready are also race car drivers. So, but he passed away at the age of 73. From tennis, maybe one of the greatest Canadian tennis players of all time, Dale Power, passed away.
Don't know that
at the age of, let me do the math here, 74.
Was he like a doubles or something?
Best singles Davis Cup record of any Canadian player at 6-2. Top ranked player in Canada for 10 out of 12 consecutive
that
years.
Didn't say much back then, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, his highest world. I said all this he's a member of the Canadian Tennis Hall of Fame. But what do you think his highest world ranking was? As the greatest tennis player in Canada for
not even familiar with them. I'm going to guess 34.
210 was the highest he ever got to. So he's come a long way from that. But he passed away of bladder and blood cancer at the age of 74.
I tell you, Evan, that's sort of a big reason why, as a kid, as I'm 51 now, and then grow up, your first memories are the late 70s, early 80s, and we lose at everything at the time. I mean, it's so different now.
Right. From UFC, Gene Herrera passed away at the age of 33 in a car crash.
Yeah.
He had 13 MMA fights. I do like on Wikipedia has his like mixed martial arts record, and then underneath has other information. Children 1. It's like total game of matches 13, wins 10, whatever, and then underneath children 1. It made me laugh. Unfortunately, I know I saw because he passed away. But he was 33. Do you know anything of? I know nothing of MMA.
Nah, not that much. I mean, I know the name, but I don't remember watching him fight.
Okay. From golf, pretty dramatic death this week. Grayson Murray committed suicide at the age of 30. Withdrew on the 16th hole on Friday of the Charles Schwab Challenge in Fort Worth, and then the next morning committed suicide.
Do we
So
know anything more about, obviously it's a mental health thing, but do we know anything more?
I don't, I mean, he had been pretty open about his mental health battles, particularly the year before. He had a whole thing where he suffered from alcoholism, anxiety, depression for a very, very long time. But I mean, he'd also been a very good golfer for a long time. He won the World Junior Golf Championship in 2006 for 11 and 12-year-olds, and then in 2007 and 2008 for 13 and 14-year-olds. So,
How
I
do
mean,
you
he's
win?
been,
Well, I was just gonna say, how do you win anything with those mental demons in such a mental game like golf?
yeah, I don't know. He
You got,
won,
didn't you win a major tournament too?
no,
No? Did
no,
you
he
win?
won two, he won two PGA tournaments,
Okay,
three on the,
so he won two on the P. So he okay. So I
yeah,
got not a major, but still obviously, if you win anything on the PGA, you were pretty goddamn good.
yeah. I mean, he won the Sony Open earlier this year in January. So, yeah, but he passed away at the age of 30.
Nothing wrong with asking for help.
No. Um, a very, very decorated member of the Edmonton Eskimos, Eric Upton, passed away at the age of 71. Was a 5-time Grey Cup champion with them in 78,
Ah,
79, 80,
that's
81,
thought
and
so.
82.
Yeah, during those Warren Moon years.
Oh, that was not a bad time to be a offensive lineman for the Edmonton
No,
Eskimos.
no, God, not at all. I think I told you this right before. It's like Warren Moon was like like as a kid trying to figure out football, like in 7 or 8, and I was closer to Hamilton, and my uncles were big Ticats fans, Hamilton Tiger
Mm.
Cats. So, for the longest time, like until I was 10, I honestly thought they were equal leagues. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Because like that's just how it was on. Like if it was a family gathering on my dad's side. So, but
Yeah.
it,
He
then,
also,
yeah.
sorry.
No, I was just gonna say it's just sort of like learning that, like years later, that Warren Moon, the first, might have been the first football player who I thought was a star. The way
Mhm.
he was winning title after title after title after title, and to find out years later, which I guess maybe white privilege, white blindness, I don't uh, that he had to do that in Canada because the other league said black quarterback who could be really good. You know,
What I really want to know though, Kirk, is how long has Doug Williams been a black quarterback? Um, one of the dumbest questions ever asked at Super Bowl Media Day. But Eric Upton also won a Vanier Cup in 1975, which is essentially
yeah,
the
that's our version of the NCAA championship.
NCAA championship
Yeah.
when he was at the University of Ottawa. But he passed away at the age of 71.
Went to Carl.
Also passed.
Boo, Ottawa. Boo.
Also passing away at the age of 77. Bob Grant, linebacker on the Super Bowl V winning Baltimore Colts, passed away at the age of 77. Can't be a ton of those guys left either.
No.
Second round pick in 1968.
That's maybe that should be your next spreadsheet. All these people are still left in championships.
Yeah,
like
I know. I already have a spreadsheet with Pro Football Hall of Fame. I started it with Baseball Hall of Fame, but I have a lot more to go on that. Basketball Hall of Fame is just nearly impossible because having to figure out who's on each team and everything else. So, and Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is, I feel, constantly changing because sometimes, like, you know what, we really did induct this person. We pretended we didn't induct. So
it's the most frustrating thing, and yet, had it not been for the Rock Hall, we would not be here today.
That is true. One last person from football. Chip Kell, member of the College Football Hall of Fame, elected back in 2006. A center / guard on the University of Tennessee. 3 times first team All SEC in 68, 69, 70. 2 times Jacobs blocking trophy award winner. Consensus All American in 69. unanimous All-American in 70. Also played with the Edmonton Eskimos in 71, 72. He was drafted by the Chargers, but never played in the NFL. He was drafted in the 17th round with the 429th pick of the draft. Imagine if we had 429 picks these days. That would be insane.
Oh, they could do it. I mean, with the
I suppose.
I mean, they usually.
I suppose.
Yeah.
And at the end, we could just have people know what they're doing and not former players talk about these people. But Chip Kell, member of the College Football Hall of Fame, as I said, passed away at the age of 75.
If they go back to 17 rounds, against the last person drafted could be Mr. Very Irrelevant.
Very, you were asleep and didn't see this. Also passed. We had 4 folks from music. Started with John Corner, the guitarist, singer, and songwriter, part of the blues trio Corner, Ray, and Glover. Probably best known as one of the mentors of a very young Bob Dylan. He passed away at the age of 85.
I wonder how Bob's feeling. How does he feel? No, sorry.
Well, now he's on his own. So, sorry.
No, before you continue, can I just sort of like say how awesome your Twitter back and forth was with me today on DM?
Yeah, which we won't go into here. There's political stuff involved.
Well, I'm going political later, kind of.
Yeah, but I'd leave mine out of it.
It was great. So, that was a great one. I said you won.
I appreciate that.
All right.
Also passing away, Randy Fuller, the bassist, rock singer, and songwriter for the Bobby Fuller Four.
Mm-hmm.
Bobby Fuller being his older brother.
I thought he passed away.
Yep, he passed away at the age of 80. So yeah, Letter Dance is another big one for that. So he was active from 62 until he passed. So he was still performing.
Oh, okay.
Also passing away, Doug Ingle, the primary composer and lead vocalist for I, Ron Butterfly, and the writer of In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida.
Okay.
He's also the last surviving member of the original lineup for Iron Butterfly.
Were they only a 3-man group or 3 or 4?
They were a 4-man group.
Or 4? Okay.
Originally. So they released 5 albums in 2 in 68, 1 in 69, and 2 in 70. And then that was pretty much it. He also co-authored their other 3 hits, Soul Experience in the Time of Our Lives and Easy Rider. In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida went to number 30 on the Billboard Hot 100, but in the Netherlands went to number 7. But that I believe is still the longest song ever to hit the top 40 in terms of length. And In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida is 17 minutes and something.
Yeah, they just started playing that somewhere in Amsterdam, and it's still going on. From
still going on, yeah. That's one of those songs that the disc jockey's like, man, I really got to use the restroom. I'm going to put this on and I'll be back. But yeah, and I always loved it. I said Iron Butterfly because that
from
was
The Simpsons, yeah.
From The Simpsons, my favorite episodes where Bart sells his soul for $5.
That's got to be the weirdest show in some ways.
Right, yeah.
Because yeah, you and I will quote each other, like we'll do references from the first 10 seasons. Almost not every episode that we do, but it's still going on, and I can't tell you one episode from the last 15 years. I bet you're the same.
Yeah. Well, I can only tell you the one. I usually watch Treehouse of Horror every year.
Okay.
Just as out of whatever, and then the one where whatever's name, the barfly passed away in the last. They had one, and they had a whole. So he had 2 lines in the history of The Simpsons, and he passed away, and they had a whole thing about how the guys missed him the whole way through. It was just one of the background characters.
I can't even remember that. I don't even know what character you're talking about.
Yeah, he was Larry. Larry was his name. He had the guys who always sat in the bars, the guy with the green hat, and there was a guy with down face who had hair part in the middle but nothing on top of his head.
Maybe.
I can't remember his name. But
either way, I just think it's fascinating. That's such a part.
Yeah.
especially living in Seattle, right? So like Paulina, my wife and I will walk down the pier and then chowda, chowda. I'd explain that
Yeah.
one to her. Why I keep saying it is chowda. She had no idea.
Look, everyone, 6 whacked snakes. Boo! You people. Yeah. You can't do anything. Me, I'm the mayor of this town. Sir, election November, election November. What? Again? I hate this stupid country. Anyway.
Joe Quimby.
Right. Joe Quimby. All right. The biggest name of music we lost this week by far, Richard Sherman. He was trending on Twitter, and people thought something had happened to the football player Richard Sherman. But this was Richard M. Sherman, who, along with his brother Robert Sherman, composed like 90% of the music for Disney. So he wrote. Well, yeah, so he wrote "A Small World After All." We also wrote basically everything for The Jungle Book, The Sword and the Stone, Mary Poppins, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, Bedknobs and Broomsticks, Charlotte's Web, The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, including the theme song for that. Like, basically everything that they did. But he passed away at the age of 95. They actually did a short 3 years ago. It must have been 3 years ago, where they did a tribute to Mickey Mouse. And it was for Mickey's 90th birthday. And they had Richard Sherman come in and perform Feed the Birds from Mary Poppins, which was used as the background for Mickey and Minnie for what they did. So that was kind of the last thing I remember seeing Richard Sherman in or with. But he absolutely, like, if you had the list of the Mount Rushmore of Disney people outside of Walt, like the animators, the actors, all that stuff, Richard Sherman is one of those 4 people. Or he and his brother together. You could put 2 of them, 2 heads in one. The Sherman brothers are responsible for pretty much more of the music of Disney than pretty much anyone else. So, and then that brings us to the last man, speaking of music, a man who may have been the Guinness World Records for attending more Grateful Dead concerts than even Bob Weir. Bob Weir is one of the members of Grateful Dead.
No, I know that, but yeah.
Bill Walton said he attended. Said he attended over 1,000 shows for the Grateful Dead in his lifetime. 2-time NBA champion in 77 with the Blazers, 86 as the 6th man of the year with the Celtics. Number 32 is retired by the UCLA Bruins. He won the James E. Sullivan Award, which we talk about a lot now, which is it goes to top amateur athlete in the country in 1973. 2-time NCAA champion in 72 and 73. 2-time Final Four most outstanding player. 3-time collegiate player of the year. 3-time consensus first team All-American. Member of the 50th and 75th anniversary teams. His number 32 is retired by the Blazers. Led 2-time defensive first team, 1-time first team All-NBA, 1-time second team, 2-time All-Star, NBA most valuable player, NBA Finals MVP, rebounding leader 1 year, blocks leader 1 year. I mean, what else?
How good would he have even been had he not had ankle and feet issues?
Yeah, his ankle and foot issues killed him because like he won all those awards in 77 and led them to the championship in 77. But he basically missed 74, 75, and 76.
Well, no, he won the MVP in 78 and the title in 77. But
yeah, title in 77, MVP in 70.
Yeah. Correct. So like, and then Walton, for I guess for myself, because I was sort of a late bloomer to basketball. I didn't watch a lot of basketball until I was a late teen, actually. And maybe because that wasn't there in Toronto, it just wasn't on TV that much, frankly. Like in Canada. So like, I just knew him as, oh, I hear that this guy was a great player. And then you sort of work your way backwards because I just knew him as an announcer first and then finding out all this other stuff. And, just a lot of the work that he did with Lithuania in the 92 games, and, Team Lithuania, where they're all coming out in their tie-dye and whatnot. So, Bill Walton was just marched to his own drum, but didn't mean that he wasn't a team player, if you get my meaning.
Yeah. I one of the few white athletes who was at the forefront of the civil rights movement at the time. Participated in sit-ins between practices on campus. In high school, by the way, his senior season of high school, he went from the field in a season 384 out of 490, meaning he shot 78.3% for a season, which is not shockingly still the all-time national record.
Yeah, that'll never be with the modern game either. So
no, in the national championship game in when they played Memphis, that was 73, I believe. He went 21 for 22 from the floor in the national championship game against Memphis. Well, that was Memphis State then. Just an absolutely incredible player and one of the great personalities of all time. One of the most relentlessly positive people of all time. You ask him how he's doing, is like, I still remember they asked him, they had a clip here in Chicago. They asked him how he was doing. He said, if I were doing any better today, there would have to be an investigation. That's just the way he was. And they were listening to stories. I think it was Cornbread Maxwell. Was it Maxwell? I think it was Maxwell was telling a story about how he came to training camp in 86 or 85 with the Celtics. And it could have been, I can't remember if it was Maxwell or his age. One of the two. I've seen so many things about him recently. And he said, guys, I'm going to be missing a couple of days. He's had to go to a sit-in at an Indian reservation in South Dakota. So he's going to be missing some of training camp. And everyone looked at him like, what the hell are you talking about? And he was gone for 3 days and came back and did everything he needed to do. But still just like, and it's one of those people who I never really thought was going to die. We had no idea he was sick. They did a whole thing. They showed the last game he did, which was the regular season finale in the Pac-12. He did a game, I think it was Arizona State in Oregon, I believe was the game. And he looked perfectly healthy then. I had no idea that he was going to pass with cancer. But just relentlessly positive. No one has anything bad to say about this man. It seemed like an act in many ways, but he was just himself. There was nobody like him.
Yeah.
Probably be no one like him again. And like basically the entire sports world is just sad over the death of Bill Walton.
Not anyone who's sort of like genuine about their activism, because there's a lot of fake activism out there. In my opinion.
Yeah. But there's a ton of fake activism. But yeah, it was there's one other thing I was going to say about him. I can't remember what it was right now. It'll come back to me probably at some point here. There was one other thing I wanted to say. I can't think of it right now, but it'll come back. Anyway, yeah, Bill Walton gone at far too young age. Oh, that was what it was. Yeah, Bill Walton died on the day that the Pac-12 went out. Pac-12's last ever game was a baseball game between USC and Arizona State. The Pac-12 championship. It was the very last thing the Pac-12 will ever have, because it's getting destroyed, because college sports is just the king of the goblins. You have to kill each other in order to become the new king. And Pac-12 is gone, and that was the last day of the Pac-12, and Bill Walton with it kind of seems appropriate. So,
yeah, I'm still not even sure what's going to rise from the ashes of that, but
promotion and relegation is what's going to rise. That's where we're going to get it.
Indirectly. And yeah, indirectly, that's pretty much where we are.
I don't think there's going to be indirectly. I think legitimately, that's what we're going to get.
I mean, sort of like where it's like legitimate, like that's where you, so like, let's say Vanderbilt gets kicked to the Sun Belt.
No, I think all those conferences in college football are just going to be gone. You'll have a top 16 and next 16 and next 16 and next 16, regardless of where they are. They'll start with where they are now. They'll play a championship. There'll be relegation. Whoever's at the bottom gets kicked out. Whoever's that wins the next one moves up. So you may have Vanderbilt and Boston College and Kentucky and Oregon State and Iowa State and schools like that all in like group 4, right? And they're going to have to play their way into group 3. and where they're going to have to, beat out. I mean, we're talking the Dukes, Wake Forest,
Well, then the natural
West Virginia.
is going to almost sort of like go by the wayside too, because just now moving to Seattle, you've got a legit power in Washington, who always has their natural rivalry with Washington State, who is a lower team. Washington is going to probably still remain fine. Washington State screwed. Same with Oregon.
Washington State and Oregon State both got screwed.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well,
absolutely. Hey, what's 100 years of tradition when you can make a few $1 million more, my friend?
Well, there's your answer. You've already answered it.
Yeah, I mean that's what comes down to. I mean, that's the one thing we have learned is that there's nothing that can't be destroyed if the administrators can make more money. The players, now that's just unfair.
But before we continue, I'm going to say something that would mean something maybe only to you. So I went to the Symphony because I was told I had to go to the Symphony.
I love symphonies, so go ahead.
I did not.
Fair enough.
Yeah. And so my wife says, yeah, it's being put. So we're because of her position. It's like, yeah, we get to go to the VIP and we're going to meet Silky Johnson.
Okay.
I'm saying, what? We're meeting Silky Johnson. Yes. Like, okay. I did not meet Silky Johnson. I met Silky Johnstone. A lovely lady who sort of like runs a whole lot of the great arts here in Seattle, but I was doing everything I could not to burst out laughing. Nice to meet. And then she's looking at me like, what?
You're trying to think what you could say about the symphony that you couldn't say about Afghanistan?
Right, yeah. It was the best inside joke I had with just myself. This entire
I would have appreciated it too. So
well, I know you would have. You weren't there, so like I had to sort of like bottle this and then tell you this. Where
all right, do we have elevator up? No, do we have elevator up?
Elevator up, elevator down.
Elevator down.
Yeah, I think we could do this one together because we haven't talked about those who are the All Pros or All NBA. Sorry. So the All NBA selections, and I think it's way bigger this year. I think you'd agree too. It's certainly way bigger right now because those who were selected All NBA, this is the first year where they don't care about position. So legit, in the minds of the sports writers, these are the top 15 players, period.
They're wrong, but sure.
I know where you're probably going with one, but still, it's, I think, a lot better than it was. No?
Sure, I agree.
Okay.
Sure.
All right. So when I'm looking at some of these, some are clear winners, some are not. Oh crap! Did this like window just close? It did too. Well, all right. I can remember a couple of them off the top of my head here. So in terms of the first team, a couple of people are already locked in right now, and Giannis and Jokic.
Yeah.
Doncic, I think at this point is pretty much almost there. This is, I believe, his first team selection.
Yeah, he's also only 24. So
right. So I mean, Luka's as the time we're recording this, Dallas is up 3-1 in the series against Minnesota, and as you said, that's great for them. I said this to Chris at one point. The biggest loser in all of this with Luka's success is always going to be Trae Young.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. Which is a shame because Trae is a pretty goddamn good player. But they will.
But had Luka been drafted first, we would never have to deal with this. Trae, it's not fair to try. So
yeah. So like of the first group, Jason Tatum's obviously a huge win, but I think Boston's probably going to beat the crap out of whoever they have. This is a different team on a different level.
Yeah, have you told the national media this? Because all I hear about is how Jason. All I hear about this is how Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are fighting, and they haven't played anybody, as if they didn't, It didn't matter who they were playing in the East. They were 14 games better than anybody.
I've said this for a couple months. You know this. This is Boston's to lose. If Boston wins the whole thing, and this is something I'm going to check for next week. I meant to do it this week, but then just time got away from me. We have talked about how Derrick Rose will be the only MVP never to get into the Basketball Hall of Fame. I want to see if the best scorer or the best player on any championship team has never got in.
Well, I mean, I don't think there's, if Tatum just continues the way he is. Here's the thing I'll say about Tatum over anyone else.
Yeah.
He's ridiculously durable. Hey, he and Jaylen Brown play, like, they take a few games off here and there just for, it's an 82 game season. Do I really need to play the Hornets? But like the vast majority of the time he's playing. And here's something I don't know if you know. He has 2,600 career playoff points at this point. Exactly, 2,600.
Okay.
If he scores 86 points in the NBA Finals, he will pass Kobe for most playoff points by the time someone is age 27 or younger. He passed LeBron.
I had no idea.
Last game. LeBron started when he was 18. Kobe started when he was 17. Tatum started when he was 19. But he's to be fair to LeBron, he only played 95 games. I think Tatum's at 107. But Kobe is at 118, 119, something like that. So he'll pass Kobe in fewer games and have the record. I mean, I know it's a weird record, you divide how it is, but most playoff points for someone 27 or under in NBA history is probably going to be Jason Tatum's this time. Well, not this time next week, this time 2 weeks from now. Regardless of whether they win or not, he needs 86 points over 4 games. That's 21 in a little game. He'll get that. Unless he gets injured.
Yeah. Shea, the other one is Shea SGA. Great player who is just getting better. And every time he scores a bucket, the Clippers brass just supposed to be going, God damn.
Particularly Paul George ends up in Philadelphia, as is rumored this offseason.
Yeah. So, obviously elevator up for a lot of those guys. I think 3 of them already are there. Second team, Anthony Davis is probably a Hall of Famer. Kevin Durant, we know what he is. Legacy, not first ballot Hall of Famer. That's for goddamn sure. But he is a first ballot Hall of Famer. But yeah, he's like the Limp Bizkit of Woodstock 99. Just leaves a fire everywhere he leaves after he performs every set.
Yeah.
See Woodstock 99 on Netflix. I thought that was pretty good. But anyway.
I didn't quite get the reference, but okay. I
yeah.
read through Woodstock 99, but I wasn't there. So
okay, yeah. But the 2 biggest winners there, Kawhi is another second team. But Jalen Brunson and Anthony Edwards, we've talked about Anthony Edwards, somebody you're very high on, who could be the face of the league. I believe you said that a month ago. I could be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure you did.
It was a couple weeks. It was a few weeks ago.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. And Jalen Brunson, who took over New York, and New York has nothing to be ashamed of losing to Indiana when they had virtually their best stars weren't playing. Brunson is now the new guy there. The fact that Dallas has gone as far as they have and gave away this guy,
I know,
is incredible. I'm probably the happiest for Jalen Brunson out of all of this in terms of this. And I think you can't. Go ahead.
He's the person you should be second happiest for. Someone of the third team you should be happiest for. We'll get there in a second.
Really? Okay. Who am I missing? All right. Well,
we'll get there in a second.
I don't know who you might be referring to, but okay. So let's look at the third team here. Devin Booker, who you got to hand it to him. I mean, like, the Suns imploded.
Should not be on this list.
Probably not, but he's here and he doesn't have the stink on him. He's not getting blamed for this. So Curry, I mean, like Curry and LeBron, we know our first ballot. There's nothing that's going to change there. So I guess there's the 2 left are Tyrese Halliburton and Domantas Sabonis. So should I be happier for Halliburton or Sabonis?
You should be much happier for Halliburton.
Okay. Well, I'm a fan of both.
Halliburton gets the max contract now. Max contract.
I don't think he's going to send any money my way. So
No, but my point is,
Yeah.
Jaylen Brown made the third team or second team last year and got his huge payday, which kicks in next season. This offseason, Halliburton still signed for next season.
Mhm.
But this offseason, Halliburton can now sign the max, and he'll become the highest paid player in the league
Got it. Okay. All
because
right.
he made it.
Yeah.
If he didn't make this, he doesn't make it. So just by the way, the bottom three people on this list, Sabonis, Halliburton, Booker,
Mhm.
none of them deserve to be there over Jaylen Brown.
I don't have a problem with saying I agree with you on that.
Tyrese Halliburton, if he played the way he did before his injury, because the first half of the year, Tyrese Halliburton was a man on fire. The second half of the year, he has just not been the same. And I know he played very well before he got injured in the first two games
Yeah.
against the Celtics.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying.
But I have no trouble with him being the first half Halliburton, yes, second half, no, but he's going to be here because the writers feel like they have to vote for these guys, otherwise they don't get paid, right? Booker was on a middling to average Suns team that completely freaking imploded. And his usage rate is far worse than Jaylen Brown's. And Domantas Sabonis, I guess you have to put a king on here, but I'm sorry. Brown and Tatum were the two best players on what was far and away the best team in the league.
Mhm.
Tatum got first team. Brown should have at least been a third team player on this. I have serious trouble. He finished 20 points behind Booker. So he ended up with 50 third place votes, whereas Booker had 49 third place votes and 7 second team. And Sabonis somehow had a first team vote. Whoever gave Sabonis first team, I don't even know what to tell you.
No. I totally agree with everything you're saying. Booker, I guess when I sort of like look at him, and again, like I'll just reiterate, I guess what I said here. The Phoenix fall, he did not get blamed for it.
I get it.
Yeah, and that doesn't excuse him being a third team over Jaylen Brown. I agree with everything you're saying here, but people will forget that. And now you're adding these little things here and there that sort of help accumulate in the roundabout way. So like Sabonis, that's his second third team in a row. These little things, especially now, if you're going to have to be a top 15 player, which we can quibble about that here and there, but I mean, like there have been some centers who probably weren't there, who like before sort of like the center position got reimagined.
Oh, no, I agree. Center position has been ridiculous for years.
Right. So I mean, like this is more of a pure thing, and I mean, we all know how great Joel Embiid was. He just didn't qualify.
Right.
Under
some of these guys barely qualified.
Yeah, because it was 65 games. I forget.
65 games. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, that sort of like changed. Like Joel Embiid was on fire the first part of that. There was a lot of great players there that could be considered. I'm going to hold off on some of the playoff stuff on basketball for next week because I just want to see how a couple of chips sort of fall in terms of the Minnesota Dallas series. And again, as we're recording this, it's Dallas up 3-1. But I want to focus on one other Timberwolf who's an elevator up. I think I've already said this, but Rudy Gobert is now a 4-time Defensive Player of the Year. You said something a year ago and I agreed with you. So I'm not trying to throw you under the bus for something that may not be true anymore, because I agreed with it. That when they did that big trade, you said that looks like Walker Kessler was the best center at that point, and I agreed with you. And now, for whatever they put a bunch of stuff together, maybe they're still going to rally back. I kind of hope they do, but I don't think so. But it's going to be really hard to keep a 4-time Defensive Player of the Year out, especially now that he's helped lead them to a Western Conference final. And that's damn hard to get to.
I mean, I agree. It's damn hard to get to. I guess he's helped them get there.
That's why I said help. I didn't say he led. I had to rejigger my words there. But
to be fair, he's been getting a lot of unfair criticism. Like he got cooked by Doncic in a game, and people were like, "Oh, how can he be Defensive Player of the Year?" Yeah, you could put Akeem Olajuwon and Doncic and see how well that goes for Akeem.
No,
Like, it's
absolutely.
just like he's being asked to do things that other centers have never been asked to do before. He should not be guarding Doncic behind the 3-point line. That's Naz Reid's job. It should not be his job.
Mhm.
And he's been getting a lot of disrespect for it, but I still don't see him in there yet as a Hall of Famer. I think there needs to be, they get to the championship and they win a championship, that probably changes things. But 4-time defensive player of the year or not, he's still no better than the third, probably fourth best player on this team, because I like Naz Reid a lot better and I like
A lot of people do.
Gobert. Yeah.
A lot of people
and
love McDaniel too.
McDaniel, the problem that McDaniel is having with the Mavericks is that he's just not thick enough. Does that make sense?
Yes,
He's
it
too
does.
skinny for what he needs to do. It's
No,
not
no,
an
it
advantage.
makes perfect sense. It's sorry, I jumped it, but go on.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Keep going.
Well, no, I was gonna say it's just like when Brittany Griner had her whole thing was like, I could beat DeMarcus Cousins one-on-one. No, you couldn't.
No. There's no way you can beat
And it's not a lack of your skill, it's your size, you're built like this. Cousins is built like this, and you're both set. No, there's 0.0 chance.
Speaking of DeMarcus Cousins, can we get him to replace Perk on the ESPN shows? DeMarcus Cousins is way better at Perk's job than Perk is. I've seen him on several podcasts recently, and DeMarcus Cousins, as crazy as I thought he was when he played, makes a lot of very good basketball points in these podcasts. So.
I want to see an NBA. Well, I guess it's going to be a new group now since it's going to NBC.
They're just going to hire all those guys unless Ernie doesn't go. Like what idiot's not going to be like, I'll take Barkley, Kenny, and Shaq.
Yeah, but I want them to hire a group that just doesn't give a shit, like an alternative thing, led by Allen Iverson.
So Iverson, Boogie, and Rashid.
There you go. And like that's
I would take AI, Boogie, and Rashid. Who's the straight man for this? Gus Johnson. I don't know. We need a studio guy, not Gus. Gus is.
I just got my social security number, so there you go.
Jay Billis.
Yeah. So I mean, no, I mean like a counter programming, just so like the whole Mannings on Monday Night Football. Do it, book it, put it on Rumble and YouTube. It's money.
That would be fun. I want that now. I want AI Boogie and Rashid. I just want AI Boogie and Rashid to do something, and then we can have like a fourth rotating person come in. Like, God, who would be just all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, Andre Kirilenko is here. What the hell? Oh, wait a second, is that Nate Robinson's music? But no, it'd be real fun.
No, they just owned him since he got knocked out by a Paul.
Oh, that is true. That would be fun. I like that idea. We should, when we have our own multi-million-dollar empire, we should definitely figure out a way to do that.
Well, I guess I'll.
Yeah, but yeah. So all those guys, elevator up. I don't see any real elevator downs out of this.
Just Trae Young, because like every time, the more successful Luka goes, the better it is for Trae, or the worse it is for Trae. I said this to Chris. The best thing for Trae is to get the fuck out of Atlanta.
Yeah.
And I hope for his sake he does. I like Trae a lot, but when you're swapping that, they are forever linked. I'm not.
Here's my prediction. Trae ends up in Laker yellow and purple. Somehow I'm going to go. I don't know how this year. They'll end up with Lakers. Figure that out. Anyway, all right. Is that your up, elevator down?
I got one down. I'll be doing more on this in depth tomorrow, I think. But Valeri Nichushkin, I don't know that he was ever a Hockey Hall of Famer to begin with, but I mean, like the last few years, he was pretty close to like well healthy, a point per game player, damn good producer for the Avalanche. But this is the second year in a row that his Demons have knocked him out of the playoffs and helped knock his team out. And I don't know what level 3 drug suspension is in hockey. I got no clue. I never heard that term before. Obviously, it's not good. He's out for 6 months. Uh, I don't necessarily want to say it's completely his fault. Colorado's failed to advance twice in a row. But if you fuck up in 2023 and you do it again in 2024, like obviously I drink a lot. I do not impact 24 other people and a whole organization and a fan base. And I hope he gets whatever help he needs. I truly do. But obviously his timing is awful. It's stuff that they've got to deal with. Hockey does themselves no favor by sort of like burying everything like they always do. I always hate when people say like basketball players are thugs and not articulate, whatnot. No, they have no filter. That's totally different. Hockey players just do whatever the fuck they want, and someone's going to cover their ass every time. Almost every time. They're, you know what I'm trying to say. I think maybe I'm not articulating myself.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
Because there's certainly, like, we've seen scandal after scandal in Canada with the junior team, in Chicago with Beach and whatnot, and nothing to see here, folks. Nothing to see here. Basketball, you can't get in front of that, because one of the biggest scandals of the last 2 years is Ja Morant doing that on Instagram. Stupid, flashing a gun and whatnot. But I'm not going to say that the NHL players' behavior overall is any better than that of the NBA or any other league for that matter. They're just protected. Is it a white thing? I don't know. I think a lot of it has to do with, well, maybe partly, but I think a lot of it has to do more with the fact that they just are so much more media savvy than anyone else. I truly believe that. They don't draw attention.
Yeah.
And this shit that he did, he's gonna regret that for the rest of his life. No doubt.
Yeah.
With Nichushkin, especially too going in this year, because he was on fire in the 2024 playoffs. He was on fire. He was, at that point, I think, I could be mistaken here, someone can correct me if I'm wrong. Vinny, I know it's going to be you because you always correct me. Love you, Vin. I think he was the leading playoff scorer at that point in time.
Right.
So, you want my political rant really quick?
Sure.
Okay. Those who don't want to hear it, go fast forward 5 minutes. It's not really politics. It's more of sort of like a plea to somebody who I just absolutely grew up with, still love. My Mount Rushmore of actors includes this man. And then there's sort of like the Crazy Horse. Crazy Horse is, for me, Clint Eastwood. Clint Eastwood in 2012 made a complete jerk off of himself at the Republican convention. Talked to an empty chair.
Yep.
Tried a bit, didn't work. Didn't try it again. Admitted that it was not too smart on his part, more or less. Roger Ebert said, I'm paraphrasing, but that kind of crushed his soul to watch his hero do something so stupid. It's not a pro-Republican or not anti-Republican thing, not a pro-Democrat thing, just it was a bad look, period. Yesterday, on my Mount Rushmore of acting, is Robert De Niro. Dude.
Really?
Yes.
This is your problem?
Yes, it is. And I'll tell you why.
Why?
I get your hate for Trump. I totally get it. I completely get it. But you're bad at this. Articulate things. You can't do, you've had years. You had a script and you can't come up with anything. And I'm not saying he's even wrong. I'm not saying he's right. I told you, Evan, like, I've eliminated my mind from politics and I've never been happier. And it's made me feel pretty good. But watching this guy today or yesterday, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Go into sort of like a speech where I guess he was unveiled as a special guest. And the crowd completely turned on him. The crowd, from what I could tell, like, didn't know he was going to be there. So he didn't have any fans, didn't have any haters because they didn't know they were going to be there. And then there he was. It's like the Toronto Maple Leafs going into Game 7 against the Boston Bruins in the Eastern Championship Final. Gets there. The Leafs take the ice. Holy shit, everyone's dressed in black and yellow. I didn't know what to do. You can't act. Just. There are people in our circle who are far right, I won't say that, but who are Republicans, or people in our group who are Democrats.
Correct.
So I don't actually know how this works. Again, from Canada, I don't know registration, whatnot. I don't get it. You can explain that to me another time when we're hanging out in Ohio.
Yeah, not on camera now. Continue.
I didn't say on camera. I just said you can explain it when we're in Ohio. Because there's a lot of things I don't understand. I do understand this. If you can't articulate why you hate a guy beyond he's a piece of shit, and you go on show after show after show after show, maybe don't do it. Or talk to your Hollywood friends who could help you. You're an actor. You've got to be better than this. I think you would lose a debate to fucking Chachi. That's how bad you looked, in my opinion.
Chachi would lose a debate to Chachi.
Chachi would lose a debate to Chachi? Chachi would lose a debate to Charles in Charge. But
fair.
I
De
love Niro. I fucking love this guy. I don't want to see him heckled because he can't put. All right, this is just me as a fanboy. I love De Niro. Okay,
I understand why you're saying what you're saying. It just doesn't bother me in any way, shape, or form.
I'll tell you why that sort of got to me from some of the people who told me, but it just. I expect better from my Mount Rushmore of acting. You know the old thing, like you go into like an island and you only have a bunch of albums that you can take with you.
Yeah.
For me, it's like I flip a coin. I'm stuck on an island. What movie category library am I taking with me? Clint or De Niro?
I see what you're saying.
You know, so I don't want to see him like this. You hate the guy, great. Don't like him either. Don't like anybody when it comes to politics. Evan can tell you. I got no dog in this fight. Can't vote. Yeah. Not an American. Just, God damn it. Just please string sentences together. That's all.
I don't think it's been any worse than any of the people who've been standing in front of the courthouse on the other side.
I agree with you. So he's better than this. That's what pisses me off.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
I mean, like it's like watching Goodfellas if I watch it for the 38th time, and then wait a minute, Jimmy Conway just got whacked by Spider. That's how I feel watching this. I just don't want my memories of one of my favorite actors, regardless of my political thing, which is again pretty much right down the middle. Which, all right, fine, I'm a fence post sitter, whatever the hell you want to say. I can't vote here anyway, but. It's just my own personal ranting that I hate watching. It's, I guess, like when Willie Mays fans watched him with the Mets. That's how I feel right now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. So
yeah, again, not taking a side, nothing. I can't do anything here. Nothing changes for me, man.
Can I move to the good, the bad, and the ugly, and
you
bring us back together so everybody can get behind?
All right, go ahead. Sorry, Evan, I just had to do that. It's been bothering me
I,
for the last
I
few
get
days.
it just is such a non-factor to me.
No,
It's everything, all that
I
crap
knew
is
it
just
would be. I knew it would be. I knew it was not going to be
Yeah.
something that you were gonna like say, "Go, Kirk, go." But
Yeah, it just doesn't matter. It's not even rearranging deck chairs. It's noticing there are deck chairs. So
so it's like Bill Murray and meatballs. It just doesn't matter. Let's go to the you're good, the bad, and the ugly.
so let's bring everyone back together. I'll start with the good for once.
All right.
Ding dong, the witch is dead, the mean old witch, the wicked witch. Ding dong. Yeah. They're in the musical of A Christmas Carol. There's a song that goes, "Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That's the nicest thing that anyone's ever done for me." And they're singing about Scrooge dying in the music.
Oh,
I feel the same way. The greatest thing anyone has ever done for me is Angel Hernandez retiring in the middle of May of this final season. He makes I mean, I try to think of the single worst referee you can think of in any sport. Who's the worst referee you can think of in another sport?
Angel Hernandez.
No, I mean in another sport. I mean,
Can't.
like the guys from the NBA. What's his name? Tony Brothers
Tim
and
Donaghy?
not Donahue. That's required. That's saying Donahue was crooked. Angel Hernandez was just incompetent. But Angel Hernandez apparently got in a fight, from what I understand, with some members of the MLB about his suckiness and tried storming out. From the story I saw, I have no idea if this is true. If it's not true, I will take it back. This is a story I saw today. The door he tried to storm out of was not the door to the room. It was actually a closet. And then got that and went out the main door, which is the perfect way, if that is a true story, of him going out. There has never been anyone worse at their job
than Angel Hernandez. I agree.
Than Angel Hernandez. And he's been bad at his job for 32 freaking years. And he was claiming that when people got mad at him, that it was racism, which again, no, just be better at your job.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say that for anyone, I don't want to say, if anyone's going to defend anyone who does attack anyone who does anything racist, it's my good friend Evan. So when Evan says, "Oh, it's racist," or when Evan says, "Like, no, it's not racist," listen to Evan.
I mean, again, it's the same idea that I know that Boston has a history of being a racist town, but that is not why we don't like Kyrie Irving. Scott Foster was the other guy I was thinking of. He makes Scott Foster look incredibly competent. Although Scott Foster is, I think, actually crooked. So Angel Hernandez is just one of the worst experiences of my life. Anytime he watches a game, you're just waiting for him to screw it up. And the epic meltdown that Kyle Schwarber had earlier this year, back in April, thrown out. Schwarber, not a guy who gets thrown out a ton, right? But he got called out on strikes on a pitch that was low and outside. And he threw his bat and said, "You've missed them inside, you missed them outside, you missed them high, you missed them low, you missed them left and right. Just do your freaking job." And Hernandez threw him out. Is just the perfect encapsulation of the whole Angel Hernandez experience. The sports world is now better because he is retired. So thank you very much. It's the nicest thing that anyone's ever done for me. Angel
Forced out, you think?
Very much so. He was forced out. And I mean, the only defender he had, by the way, gave a big long speech about what a great career he had. Did you see that today?
I did. It was Rob Manfred.
It was Joe West. For years, Angel Hernandez was at the top of. Let me see if I can find the actual quote here. Let's type in Joe West, Angel Hernandez, and see if I can find it.
That's awesome. That's actually even worse than I thought in my head.
Uh, so here's one of the things. Whether you want to believe it or not, he was good as an umpire. Where I'm trying to figure out the whole thing.
Whether you want to believe it or not, he was good. It's like right up there with, I don't mean to offend you, but.
Yeah, what was the other line here that he had? There's a whole thing. I can't find the actual thing. I hate the fact that people sit behind a desk and get on the computer and send all these social media things. They don't know what they're talking about. So under which the comment is, I may not know what I'm talking about, but neither does Angel Hernandez, and he's paid to know. So yeah, it's the blind congratulating the blind. But thank God, Joe.
That cast
Angel
was not
Hernandez,
his friend.
We've lost Angel Hernandez and Joe West in back-to-back years. If CB Buckner retires at the end of the year, baseball almost might be watchable again. Except for the fact that gets me to my bad. Baseball is actually not that watchable at the moment. And I think I think this may actually have to do with. So last night in the Cubs game, Ben Brown, who's a rookie, who's been stretched out from the bullpen, got to the 7th inning as a no-hitter, right? He had 92 pitches, I believe, and he got pulled for a reliever. We may never see a 9-inning no-hitter again in baseball.
Well, as a Jays fan, we did against us
earlier this year.
Yeah, and Blanco,
right,
Blanco.
But right, put it this way, we're going to see very
few.
I think the revolution in data analytics has made baseball much less fun.
Yeah, I'll agree with you. Like you can win the complete games title with one.
Right. But we have destroyed half of what made baseball good. Right. Mm-hmm. And we're working on getting rid of the other half. You used to look forward to Andy Pettit against Pedro Martinez, Nolan Ryan against Tom Seaver. Like, well, that wouldn't have happened much. You understand my point, though.
Yeah, totally.
I guess Astros.
Oh, yeah, well, it could have. Yeah, and not. Yeah.
But like those used to be appointment television, right? Now you have someone who's going to go 4 innings against someone who's going to go 3 1/3 while the bullpen takes. Justin Verlander is now 39 wins, becoming the last pitcher ever to hit 250.
Yeah, he'll be the last. Well, if he does it.
If he does, my point is he's going to be. Who else is going to get there? He's going to be last. We're going to have so many pitchers 20 years from now who wouldn't have sniffed the Hall of Fame. Who veterans committees can be like Bartolo Colon had 210 wins. The top guy in the majors right now is 96. So Colon should be in, right?
The top active pitcher is it 96, or are you just throwing that?
No, I'm just saying. I'm talking 20 years.
Yeah.
I mean, wins have been devalued and everything else. But we've destroyed the idea of I'm looking forward to seeing an incredible starting pitcher today because they're not going to go more than 85 to 95 pitches.
Yeah.
It's just how it's going to go.
Well, can you imagine when you were a kid at Fenway and when I was a kid in Exhibition Stadium, right? And if you were to tell us as kids that, all right, the starting pitcher, he just left the game with after 5 innings, allowed 2 runs with a couple on, and we're giving him a standing O.
Yeah. I mean, that was Jamie Moyer would have been embarrassed. So we're destroying it that way. And then on the other side of things, first of all, they've done something with baseballs. I don't know if you've noticed that. The slugging percentage for balls in play is the lowest it's been since 1993.
Yeah,
And
every year, but yeah.
but it had gone up and the baseballs were flying out of the stadium. They've done something to the balls. It's the lowest is 93. Back when things were so bad, they needed a steroid scandal in order to save the sport. And we've gotten to a point where the double and the triple have been largely eliminated from the game. The triple almost entirely.
Well, triple, yeah, for sure.
The double it's basically even a slap single. It's walk, home run, strikeout over and over and over again. There are fewer balls in play, not as much as happening on the bases. It's just not as many people are stealing because that's supposedly bad analytically. It's very much like in order to try and do what you're supposed to do to win, you have eliminated the joy and the fun from the sport. Right. And to be honest, it's happening in other sports as well, right? I mean, it's why we don't have any real running backs that matter in the NFL. Because we figured out that throwing a pass is analytically significantly smarter than running. So why spend money on a running back, right?
Didn't we say
the reason why?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
It's the reason why we don't have big men backing people down in the NBA anymore. Because you don't give it to the guy in the block and then give it back to him. Pass it out, give it back. Because it's just better to take a shot from the logo, statistically, than go inside and do other things. It's why, my team, the Celtics, is the #1 offender. We shoot 43 threes a game. Like, if Larry Bird played in this era, just by the way, he'd have like 30 to 40% more points just because of how accurate a 3-point shooter he was. And the fact he took way less than 1,000 in his entire career.
Yeah.
3-pointers, because that's not how the way the game was played. So I just feel like a lot of these sports, we're losing some of the excitement and the joy because we're so focused on the numbers that we've lost the rest. And baseball, I think, is suffering from it more than football or basketball are. But basketball is legitimately who hit more 3-pointers. That's who won at this point is where we're getting to.
A quick shout out to someone who he actually joined the show one time, Julian Schultz, when we did the whole baseball thing, Birds on a Bat. He put out a tweet and it sort of stuck with me. I'm still thinking about it. And it was like, I know he used a different players, but this one stuck in my mind. They said, like, if Al Oliver knew that if he should have waited for more balls, and that would have helped him get into the Baseball Hall of Fame, would he have?
That's the same thing. Steve Garvey never would have moved to first base. Steve Garvey played third and moved to first for the betterment of the team. Had he known the way things were going to be judged, he never would have moved to first base. Right? Yeah. Wade Boggs. I lived through the Wade Boggs era. I remember being super frustrated. Boggs was a great hitter, hit over 320 consistently in his career, right?
Yeah.
I can't tell how many times people would yell at him for taking a walk. Swing the bat, right? And he took walk after walk. He's probably, I don't know off the top of my head, but analytically has got to be a darling for the number of walks he took, right? Whereas Don Mattingly, again, a Yankee who I'm supposed to hate, right? Didn't really walk because his job was to put the ball in play. That's how the game was played at the time.
Yeah.
And he was loved for it. And Boggs got in. Boggs had 3,000 hits separately. That's a whole, he would have gotten in anyway. Right. Mattingly ended up short, but Mattingly, had he played in today's game, would be in easily because he would have done things differently. He would have taken a whole bunch more walks.
Yeah.
So
Bobby Abreu would not remain on the ballot if it was 20 years ago.
No, agreed. 100% agreed. And we have guys from 20 years ago, like Lou Whitaker, who only got one shot, which is insane. So that's my bad.
All right. All right. How are we closing this, puppy? I'm afraid.
I really don't have a spectacular ugly here.
Okay.
Other than, I'm going to say it now. I hate Luka Doncic's game.
Really?
I hate everything about Luka Doncic.
Okay.
I respect he's a great player.
All right.
I haven't really watched a ton of Mavericks games until recently because
Yeah.
I'm a parent with 2 kids. I can only watch so many games. I watch highlights and stuff, and
Yeah.
I'll do things like that. I haven't sat down and watched many games. I've watched 3 of the 4 or 3 of the 5. I didn't get to watch the other day. Wolves Dallas games basically beginning to end.
Mm-hmm.
If I were on the court, I would just knock Luka Doncic out. He's a whiny baby who takes advantage of the rules all the freaking time, and if doesn't get his way, basically throws a temper tantrum, and then he does something, and then well, fine, but LeBron has multiple championships to back it up.
All right.
Luka, like, I'm not going to say he's not a great talent, but he dribbles down the court looking for fouls in a way that makes James Harden embarrassed. Like, anyone gets close to him when he's dribbling, he's like, oh, like every single time someone comes close to him, he throws himself backwards in the hopes of getting a foul. He makes Joel Embiid look gentleman. Like, he is. I haven't even played him in the series yet, and God knows we're going to get there. I would love to play him in the series. I mean,
and yet you're a diehard soccer fan. I don't get it.
But I don't like that in soccer either.
Okay, no, I know. I'm being a dick. Continue.
Yeah, I mean, that sucks. Don't do that either.
Yeah,
they need to do it in hockey too. You need to get penalized for diving. 100%. There's nothing. Everyone seems to love Luka. He's just an asshole. He's legitimately an asshole.
You can't.
Who has to be really good at basketball.
Yep.
And I know ahead of time, if we get there, I'm going to hate him the entire series. By the way, I just would like to point out to everyone saying that the Celtics are going to get their asses kicked. Luka's last 4 games. Oh, it's all over the media how the Celtics are finally going to play a real team, right? The last 4 times over the last 2 seasons, the Celtics have played the Mavericks. The Celtics are 4-0 and have won by an average of 19.75 points over those 4 games, including winning by 28 on March 1st, the last time they played. Oh, and in those games, Luka is a negative 66. And Tatum, who's so much worse than him, is a positive 72. So Kyrie is 0-10 in his last 10 games against the Celtics after he stomped on the logo and used sage in the Garden when he came in there. Like, please bring on the Mavericks. Is it possible we lose to either team? Absolutely. But like the Wolves we're 1-3 against the Wolves. That one game was overtime this year. We played 2 overtime games against them this year. Like, the Wolves are a much worse matchup for the Celtics than Dallas is. But it's just, I just know ahead of time when we get there, everyone in the country is going to get to see what a piece of work he is on the court. Like, I don't remember hating anyone after watch. Like, I don't have a rooting interest. I don't care if the Wolves or the Mavericks win. Like, that has no effect on my life one way or the other.
Angry Evan is my favorite Evan, by the way.
But yeah. By the way, the interesting thing to me in either of these situations, if Dallas wins, who accepts the trophy for the ownership? Is it Cuban or the guy who took over? And if the Wolves win, who accepts the trophy? Is it A-Rod and company or Glenn Taylor? So that's one of the great mysteries we're going to find out either way.
I never even thought of that. I thought Glenn already sold that. Okay.
He tried to, and then he hasn't gone away.
Okay.
So,
at least the PETA people aren't there. God damn, that pissed me off. But all right, though, I did not see that coming.
The people eating and enjoying tasty animals. Anyway, that was a group my friend made in college.
I like it. I like that.
He did barbecues for it.
All right. Well, now I'm hungry and I gotta maybe Uber Eats KFC or something.
There you go. But anyway, I wasn't gonna go there. I didn't really have a good ugly this week.
It's so good. I was going back and forth whether I wanted to talk about my second favorite actor of all time, not knowing how to handle heckling. It was broke me,
Yeah,
man.
I mean, the same thing happened to, again, I'm not political here. Same thing happened to Trump with the libertarian concept.
I saw that.
Uh,
Well,
He did not know what to do. He was so used to just having crowds who adored him. He had no idea what to do when anyone opposed him.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it'll be interesting.
to be fair,
But anyway.
God, I'm defending Trump. De Niro didn't know he was going on enemy territory in his own city. I think Trump knew that was going to happen.
I don't think Trump.
I don't fucking know. I don't know what he knows.
It doesn't matter. It
No,
doesn't matter.
not. It does not.
But
As Tripp said, it just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter.
we're not gonna protest. We're not gonna protest.
I tell you, man,
Gunner is a tool. We're not gonna protest.
it is
If you can name that movie, I'll buy it. I'll call our bet even if you can name the movie that's from.
PCU. We've talked about this.
Here we go. Oh, that's what you have talked about. So maybe I'll take my bet.
Yeah, no, take it back. I'll give it back to you because we've talked about this a few times.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. So
I
no,
don't know.
I'm an honorable man. I'm going to give that.
I
one
appreciate
to you.
that. I appreciate
No,
that.
no
So,
problem. No problem. So with that said, check out everything else I hear we do in the Bucknerverse. Another shout out to Vinny Lospinoso. I called into his radio show that he's doing in Long Island, and I got to listen to a bit of it while I was sort of like waiting in because he asked me to sort of like call in and just ask the group a question. Vinny's doing a phenomenal job, so I just wanted to give him a shout out for that. Check out some of the Hall of Fame cases that he's made. We're going to be doing, there's a few more that's coming up soon. Chris Meridian and I do the monthly elevator show. Some of it is that I just did here will be repeated. Some of it won't be, but then we'll hear Chris's point of view. Love talking to, it's weird. I never thought I'd be talking to an American hockey lover who loves the Canucks. I didn't have that on my bingo card.
not even Canadian hockey lovers love the Canucks.
I openly cheered for Edmonton. Sorry, Chris. I openly cheered for Edmonton against Vancouver mainly because Vancouver embarrasses me as a country whenever they lose the Stanley Cup. I do not like to be embarrassed as a Canadian. I've had plenty of experiences that. I have plenty of experience being embarrassed just as being me.
Got it.
Yeah. So there's that. There's a couple of the shows that just finally went up. Were recorded a long time ago, but the Baseball All-Star Game 1994 with Glenn Pulowski is finally up. I recorded this like 10 months ago, but that's up now because I always have to go back. Those take so much longer, so I have to sort of like get to my webmaster. Okay, put this here, this here, this here. I don't know,
Right.
but a whole lot of other things. And Evan, thanks.
We should be announcing the nominees of the
Yeah, maybe
selections of our committee coming up sometime in June.
maybe we make a sort of like a live show on that or something sort of big announcement with that here in the new Hall of Fame, not in Hall of Fame studio here on the 40th floor near the Space Needle, which it is actually,
Cool.
which it is. She isn't really all that tall when you look at it from here, but anywho. So maybe it's just the mediocre Sonics. No, I don't know. I don't know. They're not all gems, kids. Wherever you are, wherever you may be, make this a phenomenal day because unless the Buddhists are right or Marty McFly, this never comes again. The Buddhists never said that the day would repeat. They just said you come back as a dung beetle. I don't know. We'll leave it at that.
Take care, guys.
Bye.